America is broke, and neither political party seems to have the will, the intention, or the plan to fix it. It is time for a change. Welcome. This is Dr. David D. Shine for a special episode of Saving America. And boy, do we need fixing and saving at the moment. And the United States has been on a spending spree, pretty much covers 6 decades. And times are starting to catch up with them, and it is indeed very concerning. So in early 2018, I released a book called Decline of America, 100 Years of Leadership Failures. The number one reason I wrote that book is the national debt. And it needed fixing then, and boy, does it really need fixing today. The second reason, just to be complete, was the ridiculous deification, as I see it, of Franklin Roosevelt. Frankly, he has placed America, or he did place America, on its current path towards a Marxism socialist approach. And a lot of people don't seem to realize that because he's been so covered up with flowers and, oh, he was such a great president and all that nonsense, that people don't realize how the bloated government that we deal with today is really a legacy that goes back to Franklin Roosevelt's time. And that's very unfortunate for America. So 6 years roughly since I wrote that book, the official national debt is over $33 trillion. It was a little over $20 trillion at the time I released the book. And in my analysis, I initiate that the national debt is actually a bogus number. The real national debt in the United States at that time, 6 years ago, was $100 trillion, because the figure does not include the shortfall in Social Security and Medicare. I've done a recent piece published by American Thinker, talking about the fact that we are out of money per the federal government. Nobody made this up. The feds are telling us that Social Security and Medicare are out of money by 2033, maybe even earlier than that. Also, the number does not include pensions for disabled veterans, for regular veterans, and for all of the dole called government pensions that have been dealt out over the last so many years that it's hard to count. And of course, these are the only folks in America, pretty much, with the exception of employees of a few big companies, who actually have guaranteed pensions. Time to cut that back, folks. Time to eliminate federal pensions for employees. And I've been calling on that for at least 6 years, and I call on that again tonight. One of my favorite songs is the song lyrics is the phrase, they're rearranging chairs on the deck of the Titanic. And that's pretty much what we're seeing. And note that the scum in Congress is fighting against just even small reductions. I think the conservative Republicans asked for an 8% reduction and accountability for what money's being spent in Ukraine. And the Democrats in Congress won't even agree to that. Folks, this is ludicrous. I call for a one-third reduction in federal spending. Yes, and that includes an increase in spending for the Department of Defense, although I want them to account for every penny from this point going forward. We cannot continue to use the phrase kicking the can down the road. Folks, the can is too fat to keep kicking down the road. And it's not fair to our children, our grandchildren, and any subsequent generations that manage to survive to that point. We have to fix the national debt now. And come on, Americans, vote out anyone running for office at the federal level who does not commit to massive cuts in federal staffing. Let's eliminate entire agencies. I don't need to go through the list. Department of Education, Department of Homeland Security, lots of these departments are accomplishing nothing today except sitting around, many of them working from home, sucking up big paychecks, big benefits, and unearned pensions. Time to cut it out. What's left is the military. The military has been spending money like a drunk sailor, and that includes, of course, the Ukraine mess. It's time for them to adopt a modern approach to the military. Building massive, expensive aircraft carriers, as I've mentioned recently, is not the way to win the Cold War. Nuclear submarines are our best approach. They have less people on them. They are far more lethal, and they are much harder for the other side to defeat. Yes, folks, nuclear submarines the way to go, drones, and also outer space. And these are things that could be done, interestingly, far more economically than the current structure of the military. Thank you for listening to this special episode of Saving America. We always welcome your feedback. This is Dr. David D. Shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite platform.